Yourfeed, the professional network that stays professional.
I'm Paul Frampton, the CEO of Havas Media UK and also the Group Managing Director for Havas Media Group in the UK. I'm not sure that I'm as recognised as I'd like to be, but I am somebody that has a very kind of forceful opinion about the future of advertising and the future of media, and I have a very vocal social media voice. I spend a lot of time on the conference platforms, on the conference circuit and events, because I believe it's very important that Havas has a voice, both for kind of future clients, but also our existing clients, and both for future talent as well as our existing talent. So I guess I'm known for having a fairly kind of clear and vocal opinion about everything advertising, media and digital. What did I want to do when I grew up? Well, I mean, my first thought was obviously, as most boys growing up, was wanting to be a footballer, and that, playing for Pompey at Fratton Park, and probably thinking about the Theatre of Dreams in the back of my head. But I fairly quickly worked out that probably wasn't likely to happen, although at the time Brian Robson, Captain Marvel, seemed to succeed by getting in scraps and breaking most bones in his body, so I thought that was what it took to be a good footballer. I was quite good at that part of it. I wasn't quite so good at actually scoring goals, so that didn't really happen. So I think I just always wanted to be a writer. So my first love was writing and reading. I did an English course, and so I kind of wanted to be a journalist. I started an NUJ course, which I did for less than 6 months, because I then realised that it would probably be a career that would be very difficult to get to the top of, and difficult to probably earn money and kind of keep a family on. So I decided to start looking in the newspapers for a job, and I turned the page in the Guardian media section and found a very small kind of 1x1 pixel ad for media agencies, and I went to OMD, failed that job, got kicked out by Tim McCluskey, but he told me to go to a business called MPG, which was the previous name of Havas Media, and I came here, did a job interview with 3 or 4 other people, thought I did all right but not brilliantly, and then fortunately got the job. I do. Impossible is nothing, which obviously I've stolen from Adidas, but it's probably, there are 2. Impossible is nothing and done is better than perfect. I think there's a obsession that people have with things being 100% perfect all the time, and the reality is, as your business demonstrates, Jack, things move far quicker than that. So you need to get to 80% within 4 days rather than spending 4 weeks trying to get to 95%, in my opinion. So what was my first employment? So my first actual, I guess, job was trying to sell the Evening Echo. I lived in Southend at the time, trying to sell the Evening Echo to people on the doorstep, which actually, if I now look back on it, was very good training, because I learned how to sell, and no one taught me how to sell. So you just learn how to, I guess, be charming, persuasive, and try to convince people that they should sign up to getting a newspaper delivered every day for the month, and took a fee. To begin with, I found it really tough. But then I realised actually I became quite good at it by listening and kind of understanding why people did want it or didn't want it, and starting to use that. And actually after a while, I became pretty good at it and made a decent commission from it. And then after that, I think the next thing I did while I was at university was work out the back at Marks and Spencer's, kind of organising all of the kind of deliveries and everything. And that taught me hard work while I was trying to kind of, I guess, get an education. And my mum and dad were very kind of key proponents of me being involved in as much as possible at school, but also going and earning my own keep from a young age. So I think I first started working at 14 or 15. So they taught me to go and work hard and kind of make my own money, which is as true today as it ever was. I would say the thing that I've learned most is that you have to slow down to move at the pace of other people. I'm fairly relentless and fairly restless, so I want to do everything fast, but not everyone wants to do that, and you have to be emotionally intelligent and aware of how other people are feeling in a team or in a room, otherwise you won't get there. So that's been a really key learning. Another learning, I suppose, has also been to try and talk less. I've always got an opinion, as you can tell from this interview. I've always got a lot to say, but sometimes the most leaderful quality is silence, and to listen and let other people speak rather than always to direct. And I think as I moved from being a managing director to a CEO, I realised that there's a kind of a lesson in the title there. When you're a managing director, you are directing. When you're a CEO, you have to be more of a leader, and you have to encourage, create the right environment, help other people to make decisions. So you're not the one that should be doing all the directing. And that took me a while to learn, actually, because I was used to directing and telling people what to do. And invariably, things happen quicker when you tell people what to do. But that doesn't help them develop, and it also doesn't help you develop as a leader either. So those are probably the key individual failures as a manager that I've had that I've learned from. What's it like being a CEO of an agency every day? I mean, there's no day is alike. I mean, every day is different, and things get thrown in left, right, and centre all day long. So you can't predict what your day will be like. I spend most of my days in meetings or interviews or kind of speaking or talking. So they're quite long days. They start early, they finish late. There's a lot of entertaining, but it's fun. I mean, I love it. I love the variety. I love the fact that I work with very intelligent and smart, talented people. I love the fact that I work in an industry that's very social. And I love the fact that I can have an opinion and put it out there and people care about it, and hopefully drive some change in the industry, because the advertising industry does need to change. So what's it like dealing with big clients? I mean, I guess it's like in any service industry, right? You are as good as how your clients think you are. So whether we think we're doing a good job or not, it ultimately comes down to O2, Nationwide, Kia, Emirates, Domino's, those clients telling us we're doing a good job. So your job is never done, because in a service industry where the market is constantly changing, it is challenging to keep on top of it. But it ultimately comes back to relationships. Like in any business, it's about the strength of relationships, it's about the strength of communication, it's about clarity of vision and the purpose of what you're trying to do. And if you stick to those things and you keep to your purpose, you communicate and you focus on the relationships, invariably everything will be fine, because things will go wrong. In a world that's increasingly technology and digital led, as you know, Jack, things go wrong. So you have to have the relationships to fall back on to make sure that if things do go wrong, that you can manage that situation. My favourite marketing campaign? That's a very good question. It's not a question that something easily comes to mind, because I've been involved in so many great things. I think that the one that's probably most pertinent right now, you've mentioned O2 already, is the Wear the Rose campaign, #WearTheRose, which is designed to kind of encourage people to almost put up their hand and kind of support England and really get behind England. And the reason I like it is because it's a communication that's trying to drive a movement and trying to drive engagement, as opposed to just any old ad campaign. It's really trying to get more people to support the national team ahead of the World Cup coming, obviously, in a matter of weeks. So that's probably my current favourite, rather than my favourite of all time. What builds the perfect brand? Oh, wow, that's a good question. So for me, I would say that it's actually very similar. I would say that personal brands, and I spend a lot of time trying to build my own personal brands need to be very human and authentic, and social media gives that opportunity today, as you know. And I would say actually brands, companies, organisations need to learn from that. They need to accept that, as we've just touched on, business is about relationship, business is personal, therefore it's just about the same things. It's human, and if businesses were able to listen more and adapt what they do and change what they do as a result of listening to people, not interrupting their daily lives, but providing value and serving them and being meaningful to them, which is a Havas mantra about how brands become more meaningful, then I think they'd find that they would build the perfect brand. So the brands that are smartest are the ones that listen, but are also starting to cleverly collect and use data to improve the service they provide. So we only need to look at the likes of Uber and Amazon to see that. And the Havas Meaningful Brand Study that we ran this year showed that Amazon was actually considered the #1 most meaningful brand in the UK, wow, which is probably quite a surprise to most people, right? But it's because they provide superb customer experience and they keep providing and improving their products. And people couldn't live without them. I mean, if you removed Amazon from their world, Amazon Prime from their world, they would feel like they're missing something. Whereas if I remove Starbucks What do? You go to eat, you go to Pret a Manger, you go to Costa. There are alternatives, whereas Amazon has managed to be, much as LinkedIn has been, the destination for kind of jobs. They've managed to own that space, but that doesn't last forever. So the company I would have loved to have started, which probably doesn't surprise many people, would be Twitter. I think Twitter is a fabulous platform. It allows people to connect. It allows you to educate yourself. It allows you to find out and get a window on anything that's happening anywhere in the world. And it allows you to meet new people, share experiences. So I think it's a platform that's done a lot of good. And it upsets me that it gets so much stick from Wall Street and so many other places for not being like Facebook, because it isn't meant to be Facebook. And I think it's misunderstood. And I'm hoping that the new CEO, once they find him, I'm available for interviews, by the way. I'm hoping that that new person will be able to redefine what Twitter's purpose is and stick to it.